Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the eighth episode of the first season of This, That, and the Other. My name is Varun Chandra Mohan, your host for today. My co-host for today is a dog lover, someone who likes to travel. He is currently working in the service sector and has over 15 years of experience. And he's also a trainer at Luminary Learning Solutions. So Gyan Malshan is here with us today. Hello, Gyan. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Aurora.
Hey, Gyan. All right, so This, That, and the Other is a series that tackles some of the biggest, most controversial challenges that HR and senior managers face within an organization. So far, we've covered topics such as affairs at work, side hustles while being employed, what does it take to be truly successful in business, gender diversity and equality, sustainability, and topics such as is there anything called ethical marketing? And just last week we spoke about dignity of work. Will it ever arrive here? This week we have another cracker of a topic. We're going to be talking about what does it truly take to get promoted. And it's time to introduce our guest. First up, she's a HR professional, a commercial lawyer, and currently serves as the head of group human resources and legal and corporate communications at the Haley's Group in Sri Lanka. Darshi Talpaheva is here with us today. Hello, Darshi. Nice to have you on the show. All right. She is an international human resources management consultant and career coach with over 15 years of experience, and currently serves as a managing director of her own consultancy firm in Romania called DARE. Corina Nagu is here with us today. Hello, Corina.
Hello, nice to meet you, everybody. Thank you for inviting me.
The pleasure is ours. And finally, he is an international speaker and best-selling author on change, resilience, motivation, and inspiring leadership. And he's known around the world as the sumo guy. Paul McGee is here with us today. Hello, Paul.
Hey, Varun, and hey, everybody. It is great to be with you. Greetings from cloudy England. It's our summer, and I'm flipping freezing, but we'll get over it.
Thank you for joining us and welcome to the show, Paul. All right, let's dive straight in. So I'd like to start with you, Darshi. From the context of an organization, let's start with the Sri Lankan context, and then we can go globally with the rest of the panel. In the corporate world, what does it truly take to get promoted? Darshi, you might be on mute. There you go. Okay.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
All good.
So, yeah, Varun, if I were to express or to share some sentiments that I hear all the time with colleagues and friends, etc., when it comes to the topic of promotion is, I have worked so hard for this company and I have not got a promotion. I've worked so long for this company for so many years and I've only been promoted just once, and I've been stagnating for so long, and there are so many who joined before me who have been, who have bypassed me and who have been promoted, or I have more educational qualifications than her, and yet she was promoted over me. So what I would like to ask, or I would like people to ask themselves is, what have I done to become promotable? Are you confident that you are promotable material? Am I confident that I am promotable material is a question that I would like to ask myself in a situation where if I have questions of that nature, have I demonstrated the competencies and skills that my boss or bosses would recognize as my being promotable material? So I think that is something that we need to probably explore today as well, as to how are you going to get there? How are you going to be a deserving person for a promotion? So I'll just stop at that and let's continue later.
Sure, Darshi, thank you. Karina, would you like to have a go at it? What do you think? What does it take to get promoted there?
Well, first of all, you need to have room to be promoted. If the company is really small, if we are talking about a family company, if you have only 10 people or 20 people, then it's quite difficult because everybody does everything. you know, and lots of things at the same time. So first of all, I think you need to have room. You need to have space to become more visible, let's say, and to show that you have the competencies, the right skills, the desire to be promoted, you know. And first of all, not everybody wants to be promoted, by the way, because it comes with responsibilities. It comes with learning, continuous learning, with lots of things. So first of all, you need to have the room to be promoted, and then you need to have the desire to be promoted. And then you need to show that you deserve the promotion, because as Darsha said, it's quite, you know, normal. You have first to prove that you need to be promoted, and then to be promoted. So I think that's it. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Karina. Paul, what do you think?
I think there's 4 words I need to start with here, and the 4 words are: life is not fair. So us sitting back, being all passive, going, well, everyone can see how wonderful I am, and I am fully deserving of promotion. Life is not fair. And do you know who it's really not fair to? Introverts. The people who quietly and conscientiously get on with their work. Sometimes it's almost like it gets overlooked because maybe they don't want to express themselves in a team meeting. They don't volunteer to do the presentation, but they're really, really good. And you know what happens sometimes is it's the charismatic extrovert, the person who's good at speaking, the person who takes a risk, but who isn't as competent as you. But they end up getting the profile and people notice them and they sometimes get promoted. So that's one thing to think of straight away. Life is not fair. Don't expect it to come to you. You've got to go out and get it.
You have to self-promote yourself. Yes, you have to self-promote, you know, to sell yourself and to show people what you're capable of.
Do you know, in the UK, Karina, I totally agree with you. In the UK, we are seen sometimes as a little bit not like the Americans. We're a little bit more reserved. We don't like to come over as brash or arrogant. We'd hate that. And I remember speaking to some people about job search skills many years ago, and I said, when you think of the name, when you think of the term a salesperson, what do you think of? And I wrote it on the flip chart, and that included things like deceitful. And I'm like, whoa, we've got this sometimes quite a negative perception of what it is to be in sales. But Karina, you were dead right. We've got to see ourselves as a product, and we've got to know how to market ourselves in an ethical way and know how to sell ourselves.
I think, Paul, it's as similar to, you know, you delight your customer. In the same way, you need to be able to delight your company and your boss as well. With service excellence, we always talk about service excellence when it comes to marketing or sales strategies, but you need to build your own strategies to delight your company and show that you visibly show yourself. So basically, I'm endorsing what you're saying. You need to it's a marketing of yourself.
Exactly. I remember years ago hearing an audio program from a guy some of you may have heard of called Jim Rohn. R-O-H-N, and Jim said, I mean, he passed away a few years ago, but one of a golden nugget for me of his wisdom was, he said, work hard at your job, but work harder on yourself. And that was a big insight for me many years ago when I actually started my own business, because I'd lost my job through ill health and no one would hire me because I couldn't pass a medical. And I was listening, I was driving around in my little car, listening to what was then a Dates Meet, these audio cassettes. And I was like a sponge, and stuff like from Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, and then Anthony Robbins. And it's that whole thing, work hard on your job, but work hard on yourself as well.
That's a good point, Paul. And I vaguely remember hearing a quote from, I think, Muhammad Ali, and he was, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, like he said something in the lines of, if it's true, it isn't boasting. And he was a firm believer that you just, you know, you got to sell yourself, you got to promote yourself. So which brings me to an interesting topic. How important is the whole likability factor of it? Should you be popular over being competent? Is there any chance for anybody who is purely competent, can get the job done, goes in there, Rambo style, gets the job done, but likability wise, not so much. Can they get promoted? Is there anything they can do? How does the management view such individuals? This is open to the panel, and anyone can jump in and we can go around the table.
Well, you could argue, Steve, it's interesting about Steve Jobs, isn't he? I mean, if you look at what he achieved, but the business he started got rid of him. And one of the reasons they got rid of him was to do with his people skills. But then one of the reasons he was brought back was he wasn't there to be, oh, well, let's all gather around a campfire and sing Kumbaya and nice songs to each other.
Yeah.
Flipping at Apple. He needed to grasp the nettle. He needed to grasp the business by the throat almost. And that was not about winning popularity contests. If you want to win popularity contests, get a job working for Disney World. Right. Sometimes we do have to be ruthless, but I don't think it's a black or white, right or wrong answer. I think sometimes it's all about context. And I know certainly when I think about English football, and I have a lot of involvement in British sport, is that sometimes a manager comes in and there's a crisis situation. And he or she is about understanding where his people are at, but it's about we've got objectives to achieve. If we get relegated, we lose money. So I'm not here to be popular. I'm here to get the best out of you. So I think there are certain circumstances where having to be, as you call it, Varun, the Rambo approach, although I prefer you not to use the guns, that might be necessary. And I haven't got quite the muscles of him either. I need to work on it a bit more.
Right. Darshi, Karina?
Yes, so Varun, but I also feel that people like that, I think something that they can do to improve on themselves is to be the person who everybody would rely on, who would come, the person to be sought after. So you need to be able to, in executing your work, you need to be reliable and responsible and give that trust to your team members. So it's all about collaboration, volunteering, and make yourself, you can be seen and visible once you do that without just working on your own. And also you need to be strategic in your thinking there rather than, go on a transactional basis. So there is a multitude of things where you need to be able to be seen and to be able to be visible for your bosses. A lot of things, we'll discuss them on the way. You need to, another thing, Varun, that I would suggest is that you don't wait for your company to get you to where you want to go. You need to do things yourself, even your self-development, even if it's some educational development, training. Don't wait for the company to train you. Take that initiative and probably spend your own money. Go and get that training that would add value to the company.
I think Darshi is completely right. My daughter has been in the UK. She works in the events industry, which is an interesting industry to be in at the moment, given all that we're going through. Right. But what's been interesting, while she's been working from home and she starts being able to work, but she's not been to like flat out 8 hours a day. As Darshi said, do you know what she's done? Taking Darshi's advice, which was, she's signed up to complete an online course. And it's very much about showing ownership, taking responsibility, showing initiative. And yes, likability is really important. But you know what? My problem has been I've recruited people because I've liked them and then realized they weren't as competent as I thought they were. And there is I want you to be competent and I want you to be likable. But you know what? I've got to start with competency above likability.
Right.
I think it's important. I think it's very important to be liked, but also it's more important to be authentic, to be yourself. I think it's very easy for both women and men to be liked. It becomes easier for you to get a job, to be promoted, to be popular amongst the other people. And it's about personal image. It's about what you want. It's about what side you want to be, being popular or being fair, being right, being authentic, being natural, being your true self. So I think you can have more impact on your relationships, your business, your colleagues, your activities, if you are your true self, if you admit that sometimes you're vulnerable, if you admit that sometimes you're not popular, if you admit that things may go wrong, you may fail. So we are only human beings, you know, so it depends on what you want and where you want to be.
I think it also, again, I have to agree with what you're saying. I think it takes, and that sometimes takes a degree of courage. But I think we also, you see, the trap I think I've fallen into, I don't know if anyone else can relate to it, when you talk about real likability, which I get and is important, but I've ended up being a bit of a people pleaser. And I've wanted people to please me, and I've avoided conflict, and I've avoided those difficult conversations. And a phrase I now use when I'm doing some coaching is, you know, I'm not here to be nice, I'm here to be helpful. Exactly. Now, if you want me to be nice, I can be nice, but then I won't be helpful. But I think long term, it's a bit like friendship. You know, real true friends tell you what you need to know rather than, you know, what you need to hear rather than what you want to hear. So, and going back to Darshie's point, I don't think we can just single out one particular skill or personality trait. It's almost having bringing a toolbox that we know that we need different tools in different situations, and what is right in one situation actually might not be appropriate in another one.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let me ask you this question about qualifications. I mean, it's I'm pretty sure it's the same thing around the world, but especially in this part of the world, in Sri Lanka, it's the be all and end all, you know, to be qualified, and you get a bachelor's and then you get a master's, and I know colleagues of mine who are reading for their PhDs, but they're in the corporate world. I mean, I completely understand if you're a scientist or if you're in the STEM field and you need to go further. Yes, a PhD could help. And again, please correct me if I'm wrong. We need your insights on what role does qualification play in promotions. And when I say that, I also have to just add in this one story, and I can't mention names or the organization. This is an international non-profit organization. They earmarked a friend of mine's mom. She's well qualified, really celebrated over here, truly competent. But they said, you know, the job is yours, but we need you to have an MBA. Unfortunately, that's been added as a prerequisite for this job. You have the job, you have the competency, you have the skills. We just need that for formality's sake. And she spent a year getting an MBA just so that she can join that organization. So with in this context, where does qualification fall in? Does it matter? Does it improve your chances?
Yeah, Varun, I think this example that you mentioned, probably in the larger companies, there's a structure. And in that structure, for certain positions, you need a certain qualification. So larger companies, you cannot make exceptions, or it's difficult to make exceptions at a situation like that. So if a particular position requires a certain job qualification, you need to meet that before you could apply or before you could be recruited to that position. So probably that's something that may have been faced by your friend's mom. Yeah. Coming to qualifications is again, Varun, just one aspect only of the entire promotional process. Right. In large corporates such as ours, we have succession planning, we have competency frameworks, and so you need to be you're identified and slotted into areas, and your progress is looked at. We have performance reviews and biannual, and you know there's a very frequent evaluations happening, especially for those who have been identified as high potentials. So educational qualifications there, Varun, will be just one part of the entire process. Right.
Interesting.
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. This is fantastic insight. I mean, Karina, anything to add?
I think once you establish your career objective, you know, I do career advice and I have lots of situations like this. What do I have to do to get there? You know, there are so many young people, they want to become managers, just like that, you know. Right. It's not that easy. Management comes with responsibilities, with competencies, with special skills, you know, with qualifications at the same time. So it depends on where you want to be in your career. It's not that you do an MBA for becoming the CEO of a specific company. You do an MBA because you want to, because you feel that this is the right move for your career path. Of course, if you want to become the CEO of a great company, then, as you said before, you need to do something in order to get there. There are prerequisites. You need to accomplish some things before, but usually when people decide, and it's better to decide during college, for instance, or before college, during high school, you have to decide and you have to plan your career objectives, where you want to be in 10 years from now. And we are here now, what we need to do in order to get there in 10 years from now. Okay, and you plan it. Otherwise, you'll get stuck at one point. You will lose track of your career path, and things may happen. You may even risk, and you may get other jobs. You may not even become a CEO because you will find that something else suits you better. It happens all the time. But as long as you know exactly what you want to do, if you know exactly where you want to be, then you plan it accordingly. Okay? And then, of course, you will adjust it, because life is a journey. And you learn, step by step, you learn things, you improve yourself if you want to. It's up to you. It's your decision, of course. If you want, of course, any qualification is good. Anything you may learn. And during this pandemic, I got 3 certifications.
Nice.
Just because I wanted to, and I wanted to become better for myself and then for my clients. So it's up to each of us.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, Paul.
I said earlier on 4 words. Life is not fair. Another 4 words is life is a game, and we need to know how to play the game. And I've said to my kids when they were sort of doing their studies, and they're going, "I'm not enjoying this." And I said, sometimes you do what you have to do in order to get what you want to do. You do what you have to do to get what you want to do. And I talk about in some of my events, people say, no, life isn't fair. And you use that example, Varun, but, the job's yours. You've got all the competency. You've got to get an MBA. And it's like, why? I could just do the job. And I always say to people, avoid wearing the victim T-shirt. Oh, life is not fair. Can we send out invites to the pity party? I'm just as good as them, but I haven't got their qualifications. Well, I'm sorry, but that's just how it sometimes is, folks. Is it fair? No, it's a game. And again, when Karina talked about, think about your objectives, and your objectives may change, but Stephen Covey, one of his habits, begin with the end in mind. So when I set up my own business, I was building my business, not building a career as such and trying to get promoted corporately. But I thought, well, no one knows who Paul McGee is. I'm positioning myself as a motivational speaker. I'm competing against athletes who've won gold medals. People have got pictures of themselves on top of Everest, and I'm like, what I started to do? I started to write books. And it's hard work, but all of a sudden I'm author of, and then I've sold over 250,000 books so far, and I'll sell a lot more. But it's like, why are you doing that? Because life is a game, and you've got to know how to play the game. And so there's qualifications come into it, and then other things come into it in terms of your networking, being likable, but also delivering results. That's just reality rules sometimes, folks.
And I would add something, Varun and Paul, thank you for that. Life is an investment, invest in yourself. It's you're not, you are a product, but you can be better and better every day. That's why 100%. innovation, creativity, renovation, sometimes changing things, being very adaptable and very flexible. These are true benefits. So.
And life it's a process, isn't it, Karina? It's not, you see, I think the problem is it is an investment, but people want an immediate return.
Exactly.
And, so I've been in business, some people say to me, I'd love to be where you're at, Paul. You're doing this event now in Sri Lanka and other countries, dialing in to see this. I've spoken in, in 41 countries. but you know, it's taken me 29 years to get to that
me
place.
too.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, and it's like, but people kind of go, you know, give me the, go on, where's that silver bullet? And you know what I'm going to tell you? There ain't no silver bullet. And it's about work, it's about consistency. And Karina, your point also about improving on how much better am I today than I was yesterday?
Exactly.
Not always comparing yourself with where everyone else is at. I'll be honest, I fall into the comparison trap still. I'm on Instagram. I've only got about 2,500 followers. I'm looking at someone else got 2.5 million. But what's that? It's like, Paul, just keep on adding the value. Add the value. Don't chase the numbers. Don't chase the followers. Keep on showing up and adding value, and ask yourself, you know, here today on the 8th of August 2020, am I going to be a little bit better than I was on the 7th of August? And what can I be doing on the 9th of August? And it's suddenly, it's like it's the compound effect, is those little things you do over time. But please, folks, if I had a big, you know, message for all of you, it's don't expect an instant return on your investment. You've got to keep putting the hours in, being consistent, and I think success, yeah, it's a journey. It's also a process. It's not a one-off event.
Sure. So I'm going to throw a wrench into this whole conversation, and I'll probably start with Darshay, because there's so much of controversial areas to tackle, and most of all it's misinformation. They don't have sometimes good information is hard to come by, and that's why a conversation like this is really helpful for a lot of people out there. So Darshay, what do you say to those people about you know who believe or who take on an age-old concept of, you know, the longer you stay there, eventually they'll have to give you a promotion, or eventually you'll have to be brought up to a certain level. There are politicians in our countries who have gone down that route as well. Like the longer you are, eventually you would be bumped up to the top, or be one of the preferred parties to be pushed in your candidacy. But there are individuals, and I've seen this in organizations, during promotion time, there's a huge commotion, and then they throw the tenure card, and especially when when their colleagues get promoted and so on. So what do you say to tenure? Like is there a way to tackle that, or should anyone rely on that?
Yeah, Varuna, actually, there are companies, especially I think the state, in the Sri Lankan government sector, the public sector, you do find promotions based on your long years of service.
Right.
So that is there, and sometimes I think, like you say, when you go and put your service, that's why you could get a promotion to a certain level depending on your length of service. But from there on, you are not going to get any more promotions solely depending on your long years of service that you put in. So basically, when you're talking about promotions, that is also one area or kinds of promotion. You get promotions because of your long years of service, but that may essentially come with something like a salary, but your content, your job content and responsibility would very often be the same. You're not going to go to a higher level. The same with regard to, there are some promotions for good performance. And when you say good performance, you might perform well in the role you are currently in. But promotion in the real sense of the word is where you are promoted from what you're doing currently to maybe with a higher scope, a larger scope, a job that is you from your current level, you go to another level. So even if you perform extremely well in your current job, you may not perform at the same level or at this level of the expectation of the next level. So that is why companies do have this entire thing of competency frameworks and coaching, succession planning, to all of that, to ensure that you get your promotion right. The promoter is capable of performing the job to the expected level of the company. So going back to your question about long service, yes, there are certain, but it's not, you may not get a promotion for the next level just because you are in, probably there might be a slight change in your title, probably from executive to senior executive, or if you're at a clerical grades, which we have very often in Sri Lanka. as a reward or appreciation of your long years of service, you may be made an executive, but there's no hardly any change in your job role.
All right, got it. Karina, Paul, anything to add? In your experience, what have you seen?
I'll let you start, Karina.
Thank you very much, Paul. In my opinion, I think we are not allowed to take anything for granted. For instance, I do recruitment for many years, more than 20 years now. When we ask our candidates to have experience, 6 years of experience, 10 years of experience in a certain area, okay, I'm interested in that. But what exactly did you do? What are your results? So it's not about the length. It's not about how many years of experience you have. It's exactly what have you done during those years. And it's not only about the what, it's about the how. How have you done it? Okay, what were the areas when you had results? Which areas you need to improve? Which areas you need still to learn some things? Which areas have you impacted in the business? You were promoted. Based on what have you been promoted? Okay, because you may be promoted because your boss likes you. But it's about the results. It's also about how you deliver results. So in a fair and ethical way. Okay, this is very important for me. From my perspective, I think, okay, we have 25 years of experience. What have you done? What is your personal mark? What have you left behind? How many people have you impacted? How many things have you changed in a better way? How have you changed in a better way? Okay, this is the most important thing for me.
I mean, again, sometimes it's maybe quite a useful debate when we're disagreeing with each other. So I apologise for them, but I keep on agreeing with what everyone is saying. Someone's going to have to be really controversial here. But again, just building on what Karina said, and obviously I'm trying to be nice to her and Darshi because I'm hoping for a free trip to holiday to Romania and to Sri Lanka, clearly. But if you think, let's say you've been in your organisation 15 years, 2 things to think about. Number 1, entitlement is your enemy. If you've got this sense of entitlement about anything in life, that is your flipping enemy. And secondly, you might have 15 years experience, but you haven't got 15 years experience. What you've got sometimes is you've got 1 year's experience repeated 15 times over. And that's why when Karina starts talking about, but what have you achieved? What are your results? I don't want to know how long you've worked in the organisation. I want to know what you've achieved in the organisation. And I think a real good thing, just as a general trait in life that we're not very good at doing. I'm known as the sumo guy, and it's an acronym that can stand for shut up, move on, which sounds a little bit aggressive. It's not meant to be, but the shut up bit really is take time out, stop, think, reflect, press pause. And I think it's really helpful to build into, on a weekly basis, time for a bit of self-reflection. What have I learned this week? What have I learned about myself? What have I learned about other people? Not just in my work, but maybe also in my personal life. Because then when you've got someone like Karina interviewing you, you're not intimidated by those questions. You're going, I'll tell you what I've achieved. I'll tell you what I've learned. I'll tell you where I've grown. I'll tell you a weakness I've had to manage. I'll tell you a strength that I've built upon. So it is not length of experience. It is not about entitlement. It's very much based on what Karina is saying. And if that doesn't get me a long weekend in Bucharest, then I don't know what will.
You're welcome, Paul, anytime.
Looking forward to it. We'll have to end the interview now, guys. Karina and I are off to organise a holiday.
Right.
Great.
That's fantastic. Yeah, which I'm so glad Karina and Paul and Darshi for touching on this topic, because I think we have a question that's about this, but there's another element to it. So Sam, sorry, I keep calling him Sam. Gian, why don't you throw in the audience the first question that we have, which is on this.
Thanks, sir. So here's the question, guys. I have been in an executive position for over 3 years. I meet my KPIs, I go above and beyond my duties. My performance appraisals reflect this, but my boss does not like me. No matter how much I do or achieve, he doesn't consider me for a promotion. My colleague who joined just a year ago in my same position got promoted ahead of me. What should I do to get promoted? I think more importantly, if I may add on to this, uh, probably this person need to have a dialogue with his manager, his or her manager. So as a follow-up to this, how could someone have that kind of a dialogue with their manager in terms of performance related to go and honestly ask, okay, what should I do to get a promotion, or what should I do, because what am I lacking, and then what should I be doing? So what you guys for your view?
If I can bring in a prop at this moment in time, not a t-shirt, but a beach ball, which I know, Varun, before we started recording, you were very fascinated why a boy from Manchester, you know, the Mediterranean climate of Manchester, would have a beach ball with him. But
I like how you refer to yourself as a boy, but sure.
Yeah, well, yeah. All right, thanks for the feedback, Varun.
I'm sorry.
After this, I'm going to be ringing the self-esteem counsellor. Thanks for the feedback.
It was there for the taking. I had to count.
All right, it's just a euphemism. It's a generalised term. I'm getting a facelift straight. I'm going to get the Botox out. But what you've got there, if you think about this beach ball, just generally, you're looking at a beach ball. But what colours you see are red, yellow, and orange. What I see are three different colours. I'm seeing blue, white, and green. So the question that Gihan has asked is, look, from my side of the beach ball, I'm meeting every requirement you want. I'm going above and beyond, but I'm not getting the promotion. And somebody joins earlier, you know, more recently does. And in some ways, I think some of it is saying, boss, can I tell you my side of the beach ball? But then I need to want to listen to what you've got to say and discover your side of the beach ball. Help me understand how you see things and why it is that I haven't been promoted. Because one, I need you to know where I'm coming from, because the boss might even think you're not bothered about promotion. Well, no, I am, and I'm going to let you know my side of the beach ball. But I also need to understand your side of the beach ball, boss. Help me understand that, because then maybe when we do have that beach ball conversation, we'll see things a lot more clearly. And I think just in life generally, beach ball conversations are really useful. Now, I'm sure Darcy's got more of a corporate answer to that, and there are, you know, because politics come into it. But I think just sort of saying to someone, can I just tell you how it looks from my side of the beach ball? I'd love promotion. I'm going the extra mile. I'm meeting all my KPIs, and yet I feel I'm being overlooked. Could you help me understand why that is? And rather than coming with a sense of, you know, judging and attacking why you've not had it, almost coming with an attitude of curiosity. Help me understand what I need to do and what's happened and how things look from your side of the beach ball.
Very true. Yeah, Darcy, any?
Yeah. Yeah, Paul, so you're right. I think the first conversation has to be with your boss as to understand why he is not promoting you. And again, like Corinne said, is there a place to promote you? Is there room or space to promote you? That is another question that arises. But I'm being very practical here. Like Paul said at the beginning, life is not fair, right? So you've done well in your job. Your performance ratings are excellent. So if that is the case, I'm sure companies are very short of good people. So, you know, you probably it's a place or it's a decision you have to make whether you need to move on, right, move away. So I'm being very practical here. So these are some things that you need to think for yourself if your conversation with your boss doesn't take you anywhere. So, but for number one, please be patient. You should not make decisions in a hurry for anything for that matter. Right. But even for matters of your career, you're changing your career or your workplace, you need to be patient, think it out carefully, and then make the decision.
That's a good point. Karina, anything to add to this audience member?
I fully agree. I fully agree. As Paul said before, we all agree with each other, which is really nice. Okay. One thing I would like to add, it's about the perspective, and it's about being very fair with yourself, first of all. This is what you need. Is this what you really want to be promoted in that specific company? Does the company need you in that position? Would you bring value in that position? Because you have tried, okay, several times, your performance evaluations are really good. You have achieved your KPIs. You have talked to people. Your boss doesn't like you, okay, but this is not a reason, not to be promoted. Is this a space for you to be promoted? If you have answered all your questions, if you have tried everything possible to be promoted and you still do not succeed, then you need to take a decision. Okay, and this decision may affect your future career. You may start looking for another job which suits you better than this one. And I think this is a fair perspective, but you need to sit with yourself, and ask yourself those questions, first of all, before talking to your boss. And then if you consider then talking to your boss would be a good idea, then go for it. And then if you have applied everything, as said before, you need to take a decision for yourself and for career.
And what you need to make sure is that 5 years down the line, you're not asking the same question, because you've got your victim T-shirt on, haven't you? And life's not fair, exactly. And I'm being overlooked, and my boss doesn't like me. Well, no offence, there comes a point you need to sumo, shut up, and move on. But as Dasha said, don't do it in a rush. But there comes a point where, hang on, things ain't changing. And maybe that person doesn't like you. They feel threatened by you. That's, not great, but it happens. Most people don't leave an organization. They leave their manager. And that relationship isn't great. But please, please, there will come a point where you've got to say, okay, enough's enough. I've got to draw the line here. I've had the beach ball conversation. It made no difference. It is time to sumo. Don't do that rashly. Do it strategically. But sometimes shut up and move on.
That's a good point, Paul, and which brings me to a very interesting question I want to ask all three of you from your perspective. Now, I know this question is going to change from position to position and company to company, but realistically speaking, how long does it take to get promoted? Actually, let me rephrase this. Let's say if you haven't been promoted in 5 years. Should you start to be concerned? Is there some kind of a measure where the audience members can use some kind of a tool or something to judge, saying, okay, this is not normal, and I should have a conversation? Like, what do you guys think?
If Varun, one point I might say, and there will be different answers to this, is what's the obsession with promotion? Sometimes it's about, is my job stretching me? Am I developing? Have we got caught up in this hierarchy of how things have been in the past, that my worth is determined purely by my position within the organization? In flatter and flatter organizations anyway, where the hierarchy isn't like it was, then maybe there aren't, as Karina said before, opportunities for promotion. There isn't a space. So I'll be kind of like going, am I adding value? And do I feel that value is being recognized? And that can come through a pay rise, but it can come through wanting to head up this project team, want to give you more responsibility. Am I growing and developing as an individual, or am I obsessed with status and my position? So sometimes it will be appropriate, and you will want to sort of go, hang on a minute, I feel I've been doing some stuff and there's opportunities and I'm not getting those opportunities. But other times, if you're in Google, working with Facebook or other organizations, it's not very hierarchical. It's like, what am I getting asked to get involved in? What's stretching me? What's that? I think that's an important question to ask.
Darshi?
Yeah, so Varun, again, just because you're there for a long time does not necessarily mean that you're entitled for a promotion. And again, there needs to be space for a promotion to take place. So there are several factors that come into play, and long service will not be the only criteria to get you a promotion. Rather than that, I think what one needs to think about, what one needs to action is, you need to develop some promotability traits in yourself. I think we touched on them before as well. Just to go through them again, you need to think transformational, not transactional. Add value at every turn to the company. That's very important. The company needs to see the value addition by you. Be it strategic thinking, looking at the bigger picture. You need to be able to connect the dots that will result in giving this added value and better results to the company. Emotional intelligence plays a key role in wanting to in promotions for leadership qualities, etc. So that's another area. Taking initiative, like I said, being reliable, collaborative efficiencies. All of these matter for you as promotional traits for you to be seen there, to be visible, noticed by your superiors and higher ups.
Right. Karina, anything to add?
Well, I don't think there is a special moment in your life when you need to get promoted. It's again about your motivation. Do you want to be promoted? Do you know what's in there for you? The value added for your career and for the company. I think not everybody deserves a promotion, and not everybody wants to be, more responsible, more involved in business. I think you need to be prepared for that, not only with qualifications, but also with results. Mentally, emotionally, you need to be prepared, because sometimes we promote people in management positions and we find out that they are not suitable for that positions. They do not have the right competencies, the right skills, the people skills, for that position. So I think it's a better safe than sorry. First we need to test ourselves, and we need to test people in order to see if they are good enough for those positions. Then we need to test their motivation. Are you highly motivated? Are you passionate about what you do? How would you bring value to the organization? Because all the organizations in the world are meant for profit. They want results. That's why they need you there in those positions, because they want you to do something for them in order to achieve their objectives, in order to provide for the business. Okay. So these are some questions that we need to answer first of all. It's not after 5 years in a company that you all deserve a promotion. We have talked about it. It's what you have done in those 5 years in order to deserve a promotion.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I'd add to that, one is hope is not a strategy. So be aware of that. And also, I think, if some of us are on this meeting because I want to know about promotion, and we've looked at a lot of different things, and hopefully giving you lots to think about. But a question then, if that is still your desire and you're trying to achieve results, remember the introvert achieves the results, but sometimes gets overlooked at times if we're not careful. What do we do? What are we doing to make ourselves more visible? We want to add value, but we want to also be more visible. An amazing story. I was in the US in 2004, in July 2004. I'm in the hotel bedroom. I flick on the TV and they're showing the Democrat convention where John Kerry is going to be put forward to stand against George Bush later that year. The keynote speaker that year, here's how the USA Today described the keynote speaker that year. Hear these words, I quote them verbatim. The little known African-American state senator from Illinois, Barack Obama. The little known state senator. And sometimes it's like, well, he had the talent, he had the ambition, but he didn't actually have the profile. But John Kerry saw him speak a few months earlier and said, if I get the nomination, I want you to be the keynote speaker. Barack Obama took 3 months preparing for that 45-minute talk. Exactly. 4 years later, the little-known African-American state senator from Illinois had the most powerful job in the world. So keep on asking yourself, how am I adding value? Exactly. But also be asking yourself, how do I make myself more visible? And maybe that is something that's about, going back to a word I think was Darcy used before, what are you going to volunteer for? What are you going to take some responsibility for? What are you going to be courageous about? How are you going to move out of your comfort zone? Right. All of those are really important.
To add to that, yeah. Paul, I think also, especially for the introverts that you were speaking about, I think it's a good idea to have a portfolio, a working portfolio of your success, documenting your success along the way, so that when it comes to an evaluation or time of promotion, if there are interviews, you have all that with you, and you don't have to be thinking back as to what you have done for the company. You've documented, and you have facts and figures to show how you have added value to the company.
Absolutely crucial. And people, at the end of the day, people who are hiring you aren't, we are people, and our brains can deceive us. And sometimes, if we're not careful, all that work you've done over the last 12 months, but it's those one or two people in the team who did something more recently, and psychologists call it, the recency effect, is that sometimes sticks to people's memories more easily than something from years ago. So like, you're right, you're in a meeting, you go, okay, let me take back to 12 months when I was doing this project. And it's not just the recency factor that influences people's decisions about whether you get the promotion or not. So again, build up that portfolio. Brilliant advice.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. So here's another interesting take, or rather, when we talk about the different ways that you can get promoted, there is a growing trend where this is seen a lot among millennials, and I came across this strategy because I have a friend of mine who has changed job almost every 2 years, and every time he changed a job, and these are not small organizations as well. These are big multinational companies. Every time he's changed a job, he's gone a step up. Benefits higher, salary higher. Is that a good strategy? And apparently that's not very uncommon. Like a lot of people do that. Every 2 to 3 years, they keep moving jobs, and as they move, they keep going up the ladder. Is that a strategy for promotions? And what do you guys think of it?
Varun, if it works for him, then it's a good strategy. We cannot judge if it's good or bad, as Paul said before, there is no general applicable rule for everybody. Mm-hmm. When you go to a doctor, he will give you the recipe based on what you need, okay? The medicine based on what you need, on the context, okay? On your illness. So if it works, if it's suitable for this guy, then it's fine. You cannot establish a general strategy for everybody. It depends on your motivation. It depends on what you want to achieve. It depends on the context, because he may receive better offers from other companies, better opportunities, and it depends on many factors.
Sure.
So it's not only about having a strategy, or maybe it's an opportunity that you need to grab, and these opportunities do not come very, very often, So,
sure.
If we go back, if we go back to the point I think Karina mentioned earlier on, begin with the end in mind. What does success look like for you? Well, success for some people maybe, I love this company, it brings me some stability, I kind of get the work-life blend fine, I'm not moving my family all around from one place to another, I've got a stable group of friends. And that's what success means to some people. For other people, success is different. So you're right. It's Karina's point. It's a great strategy if it works for them. But for some people, that strategy, because I think this is where we need to get over the guilt here. What does success mean to you? Rather than think I've got to buy into the narrative of what everyone else says success should be, and you should be doing this and you should be doing that. Well, you might be highly fulfilled and very happy and have a great, amazing home life.
Right.
That's success. And rather than getting caught in the comparison trap of, well, look how their career's gone. Yeah, but look at how their marriage has gone. Look at how their relationship with their kids has gone, potentially. Let's weigh all those things up as well. You know, I would say, you know, my business, you know, I grew my business from ground zero. I had a debilitating illness, didn't work for 3 years.
Right.
It was really, really hard to get my business off the ground. But I look back on it and I think I made some sacrifices and choices, which I'm okay with. But you know, sometimes what does success look for me? Well, I had to sort of apologize to my wife and my children, sometimes for my behavior, because of how I was. And my wife, Helen, had to challenge me, you know, and I had to have a wake-up call sometimes, because for me, my career was dominating, my business was dominating my whole life. And my wife was going, well, that's great for you, but you're suffering with your health. And I feel like you don't like being around me or the kids. I feel like we're a constant stress to you. And we had 1 week's holiday this year. So wake up, Paul, and smell the roses or smell the coffee and think about how you want the rest of your life to go and whether it's with me or not. Now, that is a shut up, move on conversation. So define what success looks like for you. And don't feel you've got to be trying to impress everyone else. Do what is your sweet spot that you want to do. And apply the strategy in that way.
Good point.
Varun, if I were to look at it probably from the company's point of view, when you see a CV and you have a person working for 2 years or less than 2 years, 5, 6, 7, 10 places down the career, and you're looking at a senior position, there might be a question mark. And this question is very often asked, why are these frequent changes in job? And if a company is looking at a person's certain experience in a certain industry or in a certain area, and you don't see this because of the different job changes that have been made, because to be able to grasp something in a company, at least you need to stay for more than 2 years, 3 years, you know, to get a hang of things and to settle down. So I'm just showing another point of view from the company, whether the company is would probably hesitate or might think twice before recruiting a person who's moved jobs very frequently. There's saying a rolling stone gathers no moss.
That's nice and good. So I'm assuming like as you go up the ladder and as your positions become more and more senior and as you go up the ladder, it becomes more and more imperative that okay.
But again, it might depend on the industry as well. Maybe in certain IT areas, going frequently, moving jobs may not really impact the company who is going to recruit. It may not affect. So it might probably depend on the industries as well.
Depending on the industry. Got it. All right. So I think we're down to our last few minutes. So let's take one more audience question, and then I can throw in a question to wrap up. And so Sam, Gihan, throw us another question, please.
Thanks, Arun. We have actually got a few more questions around likability and then HR's role in it. I think we covered that during our discussion. So I'll get into a separate topic. So here's the question: how do you compete with someone who pretend to do a lot of work and gets away and gets promoted? I think probably the discussion point here would be, I mean, how do you strike a balance between doing the job and sharing what you are doing and what you did? Because we covered this early during the discussion, saying that, I mean, it is important to have that balance and then to be authentic. But how do you really strike that balance in a real life scenario? So over to you guys.
Who wants to kick off? Karina, you look like you look far more intelligent than me. That looked like a hard question, Gihan. So
thank you.
Thank you. Ones.
Thank you. I understand you want to come to Romania, Paul. It's already established, so don't worry about it. Well,
good.
In my opinion, I think I will not agree with fake it until you make it. You know, it depends a lot on your results, on how you do things, on how you impact the business. It's meritocracy, you know, deserving that promotion. Sometimes we skip those stages, and people want to get promoted just like that, you know, without doing anything, or based on others' work, which happens a lot actually, because nobody sees them. But what you can do is grab feedback from your colleagues, note it down, feedback from your managers, feedback from your clients. Write down your results. Okay, promote yourself, and this is how you become more visible. But what is more important for you, being promoted or adding value to your activity? Being promoted or being authentic, being natural, getting your objectives done, you know? So it's a question, again, I'm a fan of questions, you know, and answers, because the questions help us see the true picture. And I think there is no, again, general applicable rule to any company, to any job. Things happen. Life, again, is not fair, but it's our role to make people see what we do and what we are capable of doing.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
not to get stuck. Okay, to get stuck, to complain, to become a victim, as Paul said before, you know. So this status of victim doesn't help us anymore. You need to have the courage to stick to your values, you know, to stick to your objectives. And you need to be aware.
There are going to be times when you're putting the work in and someone who hasn't always put the work in seems to get promotion. I'd always say comfort yourself with the fact that the likelihood is they will get found out eventually. The bluffers will get found out. And again,
Definitely.
life generally, you know, stuff happens. You can ask yourself the question, I've got to make a choice here. Is this going to make me bitter or is it going to make me better? And it's understandable initially you feel upset, you feel angry when you feel you've been overlooked. And understandably, initially you might feel a bit bitter about what's happened, but you've got a choice here. Sumo, as a word in Latin, not as an acronym, as a word in Latin, means to choose. And we have to make some choices. Will this make me bitter or will this make me better? And also, it's like with my whole business, I'm in this for the long game. I'm not just after some quick wins and go home. It's like you keep on keeping on, adding the value, building the profile. But it's over time, but I'm in it for the long game. You got overlooked for this promotion. Are you going to be bitter or are you going to be better about it? And then hang on a minute, but other opportunities will happen either in the company or outside the company. You are playing the long game. Remember that.
That's good advice. Darshi?
Varun, I think I'll just go back to what I said earlier. If you know, the person feels that the person is not getting any visibility,
right,
document what you have done, your success, document it, and you need to show it to your boss at the time of performance and promotion discussions. Like, you know, it's difficult for a person to fake things for a long time. So finally, the person will be found out. So you need to be patient, and you do your part in documenting and showing the visibility.
That's fantastic advice. All right, last question. The one tip you would give to anyone who is out there hoping to get a promotion, or they really want a promotion, or they're on the verge of it, but they just can't get past that line. The one tip that you would give them, we can start with Corinna.
Thank you very much, Varun. Be happy with who you are. If you're happy with who you are, if you discover yourself, if you know who you are and what you want to do, then you may be happy with everybody else. And if at the end of the day, you're successful and you feel comfortable with what you have done during that day, then I think you have achieved your objective, and your personal and your professional objective. Because life is about perspectives, is about opportunities, is about experiences, is about lessons. Okay, don't take anything for granted. Just challenge your status quo and move forward and invest in yourself first of all, and then, you know, like in the airplane, you put first yourself the mask and then you have the others. So if you're good and happy with yourself, then you will be good and happy with the others. Okay, be authentic, be natural, and discover your true self. This is how you will add the value to everybody else. Thank you.
Oh. That's quite insightful. Darshi, Paul, who would like to go next?
Yes, don't wait for someone else to get you where you want to go.
Right.
Continuously improve and develop yourselves and make changes to yourself if you want to take the next step in your career. So thank you and wish you all the very best to all out there.
Thank you, Darshi. Paul?
I think I've done these little short phrases and they've all had 4 words in them. This doesn't, just to show I can be flexible and throw in a bit of variety. This one's only got 3 words.
Sure.
It's a bit like me, it's short and it's simple. And it's simply this: show some leadership, you know, in every area of your life. Leadership is not a title, it's a behavior. And whatever your job title is, we're all called to lead ourselves and to show some ownership and bin the t-shirt, you know, make sure this is just, it's, you know, I had a wardrobe full of these years ago. Bin the t-shirt. I have to show leadership in my marriage, being a father, in my business. You know, it's not about a title, it's about behavior. And if you show some leadership for your life, you will go far.
Very, very, very good advice. All right, so with that, we come to a close of today's conversation on what does it truly take to get promoted. A big thank you to our guests, Darshi, Corina, and Paul. Thank you so much for being with us here today. It's been a pleasure. So do stay back for a few minutes after our live session has ended and for a short debrief. A special thank you goes out to Gihan, my co-host for the day. Thank you very much. And finally, a big thank you to the Luminary team and to our audience who tuned in today. Next week, my co-host Hazim and I will be speaking about cracking the innovation code. So don't forget to tune in next Saturday. I'm Varun Chandramohan. Thank you for joining us today. See you next Saturday.